Are you ready?
Oh, I look like Shrek.
So do I.
No, you don't. You look good.
Smell my
I
thing
don't
here.
like it.
Hmm?
I don't like it.
You didn't like it? I like it very much. I'm gonna
I think
wear
my
it every
pastor
day.
used to wear it.
No, I guarantee you, your pastor never wore this.
It was a very similar scent.
I doubt it. Otherwise, he must have been doing some shit on the side.
Well, he may have been. Who knows?
Ready? I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
That's Booby.
And Jumpy and Ghosty and Chip.
King Park, LA Dispute.
Yes.
I thought we didn't we do LA Dispute during
Well, this is what happened was LA Dispute. Remco paid to have this done during the Rockathon, but it didn't get done during the Rockathon.
We missed it during the Rockathon.
So he said he wasn't going to be able to see like the next Rockathon, so he was like, you know what, I'm just going to pay the extra and bump it to the 75 to have a breakdown. So, shout out to you.
Shout out to the big homie.
Yep.
This is
King Park
by LA Dispute. For timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up in Middle America with Vin and Sori.
If you've been wondering why our releasing schedule's a little whacked out the past couple days, I have been terribly sick, just in bed, barely getting out of bed. So,
Yeah,
everything was on pause.
you've got a pretty good tolerance for that stuff too. So for you to be bedridden is kind of strange, but I'm just watching it. We'll see. It sucks though because I'm lonely at the gym.
I know.
Maybe I'll get some ladies to be nice to me.
Oh, Vin.
No,
You have some serious issues.
I actually think people are like don't want to be around me because you know how I am when I work out. Like it's not casual.
No, it's not.
So,
it's intense, but it's
yeah,
hot too.
especially when I do those sprints. I don't think anybody wants to be around me. Usually by the time it's over, like I've got a wide berth. No one wants to be around me. Or it might be because I smell. That's
You know what? No, you don't smell. You know what I like about having you there with me when I go to the gym is it's entirely different. Of course, now, I mean, I look more like a mom than when I used to go to the gym, but still, it's different having you there with me because I don't feel like people are like piranhas. You know what I mean? Like, it's actually nice. I'm like, yeah, because like this guy came around the corner and I saw him start looking at me, and then he looked over at you, and then he like looked forward and kept walking. I was like, that's right, yep, that's my man.
You don't really want no gunplay?
No. And you're like going like crazy on that machine. I'm like, yeah.
Masalama.
Anyway. So this is me all gross. I haven't showered, nothing. I've just been coughing around.
You're beautiful. You're beautiful. I just got this cologne from Killian. She doesn't like it, but I love it. So
it's a really cool box, though.
That's one of those things, man. But we'll talk about that another time. All right, let's go.
Okay. And put them on, babe.
Yeah.
Go. Oh, this isn't plugged in. Dang it. I plugged everything else in, but how did this get unplugged?
Boy, you sucker.
You must have let the kids in here while I was ill.
Is that it?
Ready?
Gang gang since
Go.
Shots were fired from an SUV. crowd poured out as the shots drowned into siren sounds out of their houses now and over front yards, all the way up to the place where the police tape ran to mark the crime scene. Everybody trying to catch a glimpse of what was happening, of what was going on between the ambulance and all the cop cars. Everybody gossiping, whose kid got hit, where did it hit him, and who could have fired it. Everybody wondering, how did it happen again, and is he dead? These children are kids. Everybody wondering how far they were from where the victims live, and I visit them, their houses. Inside my dream I visit them, my spirit soaring high and high up over King Park, leaves the crime scene, travels further back till far before the shooting. Through their windows to their living rooms, I see them younger this time, playing games and doing homework. All these marks of youth soon transform coldly into stone for fights and stupid feuds, for ruins wrapped in gold. And cruelly I recall why I have come to find the reason, but there cannot be a reason. Not for death, not like this, not like this. 3 days later, they make funeral plans. The family. 3 days later, a mother had to bury her son. Not far away, the shooter holed up in a hotel near to the highway with a friend and the gun. That same
Is this based on something true?
Yep.
What happened?
David Witherspoon is the kid that got killed, and then Kyle Keenan is the guy who killed himself.
He does kill himself?
Mm-hmm. He called his uncle.
That's so sad.
He literally said that to his uncle, "Can I still get to heaven if I kill myself?" So, that's a true story.
That's the kid? The one that did the shooting? Oh my gosh, that's so sad.
No, that was a kid that died. This is David Witherspoon.
Man, this band sings about such...
Wasn't this the band that sang about the kid with cancer and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty crazy, this band.
His voice, man, is so perfect for this type of thing.
Yeah. He was asking the family would he still go to heaven if he committed suicide. We told him, "Don't kill yourself, boy," said his uncle Larry Keenan. So he killed this kid, and the kid had nothing to do with it. Witherspoon was killed as he walked alongside Kalamazoo Avenue Southeast near Ballard Street about 4 p.m.
My word, this is so... Oh. What year was this?
2008.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is so sad. And you know what? Those types of situations, oh my word. The song was so emotional because, you know, first the kid getting killed when he had nothing to do with it was like heart-wrenching. And then just the way that he worded it and like going over the scene and like the mom and all of that stuff. And then when it switched and then it like, because at first you're upset with the killer. Then when you start hearing the kill, I mean, you're obviously still upset that the kid is dead. But then when you hear what's going on with the killer, you know, they called him grandpa and he was only like a year or two older than them. Like he was just a kid himself. And then to have all of that happen and then he ends up killing himself in the conversation between him and his uncle, it's just heart-wrenching. And he thought that he could even it out if he killed himself. That's sad.
Yeah, you can't be done. You know, and that's where I see a lot of utility in the message, the Christian gospel. You know, it's that you cannot even out, because here's the thing, is that you killed somebody who is innocent. So if you kill yourself, you're killing a guilty person. Mm-hmm. So even though you killed yourself, it's still not
true. Yeah.
You didn't square anything because you are a guilty person. Mm-hmm. and the person you killed was an innocent person. So it's still not the same.
Yeah.
Your family lost somebody, but they lost a murderer. This family lost somebody, but they lost a student who's on his way home from school. That's not the same thing. And I'm not saying it to, I'm saying it to hopefully, because I've you know, America's been at war for the last 20 years. And there's a reason why there's a lot of veteran suicides. Because war is an absolutely horrible thing. And so you kind of have to have these conversations. And so you killing yourself doesn't make up for anything. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, in Jesus you see an innocent person who is lost. Right. And from that perspective you can say, okay, like there is the equivalent, there is some sort of an equivalence there, because an innocent person was killed. Mm-hmm. But you know, I'm very, very grateful when I hear songs like this to have a Christian worldview.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's just, you know, the line, you know, the burden of murder. I've said it a bunch of times, especially on the other channel where I talk about warfare. Mm-hmm. And I talk about, you know, making folks bear the burden of killing and dying.
Yep.
And it's a pretty terrible burden to carry.
I mean, I think you and I are thinking, you know, about the same song but different angles of it. You know, like I'm thinking about like don't get sidetracked by, you know, I know some people the abortion topic is such a hot topic. Don't get sidetracked by that, but just listen to what I'm saying about it. So when, you know, like the whole Shout Your Abortion campaign and stuff like that, like it's their way of trying to find a way to deal with the guilt that people feel, and instead of dealing with the guilt in a way that alleviates the guilt, they're trying to say, okay, well, shout your abortion so that way you can get past that guilt.
Right.
But that's not the way to deal with guilt.
Right.
And we all have guilt for different things, like because we're all sinners and we all do stuff that we all have guilt, and so we have to find a way to deal with that guilt, and there is only one way to deal with that guilt, you know, coming from a Christian worldview. And we've seen, you know, like this kid thought that the way to do that was to kill himself, and that wasn't the way to deal with that guilt. There's forgiveness to be had, but oh god, it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah, and it's you know,
teenagers, they all just take my heart, you know.
I know.
I'm like,
I know. And the guy was 20. I mean, he's still a teenager, basically.
Kid. Yeah.
You know, and it's a horrible, you know, but this whole gang lifestyle, you know, there's just a lot of things that go through my head when I hear this stuff. You know,
I bet.
I was never a gangster, and the main reason I was never a gangster was because I never wanted to be in a situation where I had to do something because I was told to. You know, the gangs at the time were, and some of it's just, oh, you're an arrogant dude, but some of it is like, I like I said in the other video, like I've seen people who are friends, and then the next day they're beating the hell out of this guy, and I'm like, yo, you and that's your man.
Mm-hmm. But they
had to do it because their superior told them to do it. I'm like, nah, I'm good. You know, but you know, and taking part in bullshit like this, you know, where we're gonna go and we're gonna ride on these dudes and blah blah blah, and doing stuff in broad daylight. That was a big thing. Like, oh, broad daylight, blah, blah, blah. You know, like it's you know, your manliness increases as your intelligence level decreases. And then you get into other organizations and everything is about being tactical. And everything is about like not being, you know, but like then you're like, oh, this is how real efficient killers operate. They're very focused on tactics and being in certain places and not being in certain places, and shoot, if the credit can go to somebody else, even better. Get the hell out of the country. You know, like but you know, it's just terrible. Like it's weird because he was talking about like, I want to be there and I want to see the bullet hit. It's a very strange thing, but because he's absolutely right. That's how I felt when I would hear about these people, and I'd see, well, you know, I've seen people shot, obviously, but like, it's a very weird thing. You sit there in your room by yourself and you're like, yo, this dude was in school every single day and he's not going to be here anymore, like ever again. And like, you just try to find a way to grasp
that,
what's happening. And it's a very difficult thing, especially for a young mind.
Yeah.
First time somebody, and I had a lucky upbringing because like we didn't have people like dying all over the place when we were young. Like I remember my aunt had a miscarriage and she was pretty far along, and I remember going to the funeral and I looked at my older brother. I'm like, this is the first time we ever been to a funeral. I mean, we had a lot of crazy shit happen in our family, but you know, we had a pretty like, it was tight knit, but it was also isolated, and so the more isolated you are, then the less death you're exposed to in your extended family. But
right.
It wasn't until I hit New York when like people started dropping. And then I had a very, very hard time trying to wrap my mind around it. And there's still like people to this day and situations to this day where I'm like still trying to.
Oh yeah, because the stuff that you experienced and the stuff that I experienced growing up, they're like literally two different worlds. Like anytime I went to, you know, a good handful of funerals growing up, but none of it was crazy. Like it was all like, oh, there's an older person, or you know, like they were all older. Like I don't remember even going to any. I think there was like There might have been like one that was like a younger person, but for the most part, it was all older people. So, and I never saw anybody. I never saw anybody die. I still have never seen someone die. So, it's like, I don't know. Sometimes when we watch these, war shows or something like that, and you see somebody get shot and they kind of drag it out, I'm like, oh my gosh, to actually like see that in real life would be very, very difficult. And so, when you talk about these stories, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I feel like I would do anything to get my kid out of that environment. Literally anything.
Well, yeah, and my mom was that way. I kept so much stuff from my family. Like, my brother...
Your mom was smart. She
my
knew.
older brother was with me, like, the last year of school, and so, like, there were some things where he kind of, obviously, when I was irrational and wanted to go after a bunch of dudes when it was just me and him. And, like, I had nothing. I was in the 9th grade, no weapons, nothing. But we never told our mom any of those situations. And then when he left school, man, forget it. Like, that was, so, I was pretty good at the double life thing and that stuff stayed over there, that stuff stayed over there, and, but my mom, she knew she got me out of there when it was clear, like, I was, like, not right up here. But the other stuff, I don't think she knew.
Really?
Nope. Because if she would have known, she would have been out of there immediately.
Oh.
Immediately. Like, I showed up with a black eye or something like that, she'd be upset. But, like, it's like, oh, boys, like, the problems were when I showed up with nothing. That was the problem. There was a reason I showed up clean that day, like, so it's stuff like that where, and she wasn't like, I don't think my mom ever really, like, you never think it's going to happen to you. See, that's the thing. It's like, you hear those things happen every day, but at the same time, it's like, there's millions of people in New York City, everybody squashed together. You just don't think it's going to happen to you. You just don't, I remember one time we were in Bay Plaza. All you Bronx heads that know about Bay Plaza. We're in Bay Plaza, and I remember there was this dude who was looking at me, I was looking at him, and like we kind of like walked by each other, and I think he kind of like had respect for the fact that my mom was there, because although in Chicago they'd kill you and your mother, I guess. Those guys in Chicago are savages, but yeah, good old Jay Vaughn. He kind of looked at me, I looked at him. We did a little stare down thing. He went his way, I went my way. My mom was like, what up to this man right here? What up to this?
What happened to this
I was like, nah, that's just my friend. Little did she know that, he had... Anyway, so this is like a week before. Like, so you just don't think it's going to happen to you, and you don't...
Wow.
It's not like all-out war all the time. Like Chicago, my perception of Chicago is it's all-out war all the time. It wasn't like that. It was just things got to a certain level and then boom, 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 something happened. Somebody's, whatever. It was more like that. It wasn't like Chicago where it was like these dudes are literally at war with each other. It's literally a war zone. Like. So this kid got, and it's one of those things, and they always tell you, if you keep your head down, you mind your own business, you'll be okay. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, that's true. Because my brother kept his head down, he minded his own business, and he never had any of those, never, not once.
Yep.
But, this kid, he was
Yeah, I feel like
just,
sometimes people just have a face for trouble too, though.
Well, yeah.
Like literally their face, the way that it's constructed.
Well,
it's just.
Girls were a big, big thing. There's a lot of everybody trying to figure out what masculinity is and whatever, and girls, I'm not blaming them, it's just we all grew up without fathers. So how we treated girls and how we all whatever, that's where I got into a lot of conflict with people was that my friend got into a lot of conflict because he had a face for that, and he loved violence. And I'm, how I am, but he loved violence more than I did, which is saying a lot. He liked to get bloody. He loved it, but but then you get situations like this. It's like, well, he kept his head down. That was kind of like my mentality. Like, that's bullshit. Like, that's not true. Like, I could tell you names of people right now that are in the ground and they never hurt anybody, never did anything. Straight A student, whatever. And then everything just gets thrown away in a split second of just irrationality.
Wow.
So I don't know. Like I said, Chicago is different. Like, Chicago is like, these dudes, these kids are actually at war with each other. Like, it's like they've killed people. They have counts. They have tallies. And now it's the internet, and they have scoreboards of people they've killed. Like, it's no joke. Like, it's like,
goodness.
Yeah, it's completely different. I don't know how any of me and my friends would have survived in that environment.
Goodness gracious.
So it's just, yeah. But now,
that's so terrible.
Now, like, you have people and they're like, oh yeah, we're on that gangster shit. Let's go. And okay. And Detroit, you hear about LA and you hear about, obviously Chicago's big now, New York, but Detroit, Eminem had a friend, his name was Proof or something like that, got gunned down in Detroit. They all got famous and rich, and then he dies in a pool, at the, bar in Detroit, at 12 in the, so, like, Detroit was also no joke. Like, dudes are, like, Eminem was, he, say what you want, he's like, da-da-da, he came from a hard place. Like, he grew up around some gangster, like, he was on some gangster shit. He never claimed to be a gangster, but where he was and the people he was around, like, they were on some gangster shit. Say what you want about him. Just because you're white doesn't mean you can't gangbang. I've seen a lot. I've seen some white folk gangbang like crazy. So it's just a terrible environment. It's horrible. It's tragic. It's one of the things where it's like, I hate to say it, but I'm glad my kids are not in that environment. And I purposely, my girlfriend at the time, I was like, yo, we're going to have a future. There's no way we can have a future in New York City, man. We got to get out of here. So that was the plan, because...
You're in Maine.
Now they're in Maine.
Yeah.
Now the worst they have is, Joy is out there talking shit, and Zoe wants to put the screws to her or whatever.
Yeah.
And, that's by design. I'm glad, but... Rest in peace to both of them, man.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna comment on the do people go to hell, just for committing suicide, but Yeah, I mean, I think what I will say is that the Lord is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger and rich in love. He is good to all. He has compassion on all that he has made, and he will by no means leave the guilty unpunished. So put those two together and do what you want. But I'm very hopeful for reconciliation for both of these brothers in the afterlife with Ein Sof and Inshallah in the new world. Well, that's why Jesus tells us to turn the other cheek. What do you give the score?
Silent count.
It's a silent count. The sacred song. That's like 2 back-to-back silent counts from this band. I don't think I can tolerate much more of this band because they're just so
very meaningful.
They're so deep and meaningful. Good Lord. LA Dispute. One of the most important bands probably the last 10 years that I never even knew about. Good Lord. Good band, good song, tragic situation. Hopefully we can all learn. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.